Welcome to the Epic English channel. Bah, wah, wah, that's all I could hear, like how adults sound in the Charlie Brown movies. Yeah, my hearing shut off about 5 minutes ago. Now, the sounds I heard began to be drowned out by a roaring as blood rushed to my ears in intense anger. I felt my knuckles turning white as I clenched my fists resting on the table, watching my wife's face. I saw her lips move as she tried to explain what she had just said to me, but I was no longer listening 15 minutes earlier. I had just walked through the door. Returning home from work on a Friday evening, I was eagerly looking forward to having a beer and relaxing, hoping to start enjoying the weekend with my wife. Well, you know what they say about the best laid plans. I did get the beer. My wife placed it on the kitchen table as I walked in the door. As for the rest of my plan, not so much. Then there were 5 words, darling, we need to talk. Right before getting to the heart of this story, I should probably tell you a bit about myself and my wife. My name is Robert Bader. I'm 28 years old, and I have a good job at a consulting firm. I hold a master's degree in computer science. I'm 180 centimeters tall, weigh around 90 kg with chestnut hair and eyes, and I stay in shape with daily gym visits and an 8-kilometer morning run. I've been told I have a handsome face. My wife's name is Illa, though she's usually called Ida. She's 2 years younger than me, about 165 centimeters tall, curvy but fit. She goes to the gym about 3 times a week. She has shoulder-length blonde hair, blue eyes, toned legs, and everything else that could make you swoon, a slim waist and a size for chest. Yes, her face is also very beautiful. We met at a college party. Back then her name was Illa Masters. She was earning her bachelor's degree in accounting. While I was already in my first year of graduate school, we hit it off from the beginning and dated through the end of college. We got married about a year after graduating. I should mention that sometimes she tended to overlook the full consequences of some of her decisions. This was especially true if it was something she strongly believed in and wanted a prime example. She had a bit of a feminist streak, so she didn't want to just blindly take my last name. When we got married, she insisted on doing one of those hyphenated last names. You know where her maiden name is, followed by a hyphen, and then the husband's last name. Something like Scott Pruitt or Rodham Clinton. You get the idea. Every time I tried to discuss this with her and tell her what a terrible idea it was, she got defensive and accused me of misogyny and trying to take away her identity. She'd mention other women who had done it and were very successful. She'd talk about a few of her friends who had done it without any issues. She'd go on and on about how the patriarchy forces women to take their husbands' last names to control them. I tried to explain that this wasn't about that. I had no intention of trying to control her. Finally, I just sat her down, wrote out the hyphenated last name, and had her rate it 5 times, if she still wanted to use it. After that, I wouldn't object anymore. Ida Masters bade her. The idea was suddenly dropped, and she changed her maiden name to mine. I told you she's a natural blonde, didn't I? So we've been married for almost 5 years. We don't have children yet, but we've started working on it. We talked about her getting pregnant around our 5th anniversary, which was just over 2 months away. She has issues with birth control pills, so we've always used protection when we were intimate. Our plan was that, on the night of our 5th anniversary, we'd be together without protection for the first time. It would be a special night for us. So this brings us back to the beginning of this unfortunate story. With a beer in hand sitting across the table from my wife, I heard 5 devastating words and my anger grew. I just want to try something a little different for a month or so before we have kids. I need to get all of this out of my system before I settle down and become a mother. Ida tried to explain, so let me get this straight. You want to date other guys while you're married to me. You want to go out and have fun, even sleep with other men, completely breaking the vows you made to forsake all others, and you expect me to be okay with this. Are you out of your mind? I practically shouted the last phrase. Look, it's only for a month or so. I just need to get this last bit out of my system, and then we can have our special anniversary night just like we planned. Once this little phase is over, I can settle down and be a loving, faithful wife for the rest of our lives. Not just N-no, but hell N-o. Robert, I've already made my decision. This is something I need to do. I'm not asking for your permission, I'm just letting you know in advance, so it won't be cheating. Seriously, how can sleeping with other guys not be cheating on me? It's not cheating if you know about it and it's open. It's only cheating if I try to hide it and sneak around behind your back. That's not what this is. That's why I'm telling you about it in advance before it happens. Besides, it won't be every night. It'll probably just be Friday or Saturday night, and I'll be back home in the morning. We'll still be intimate a few nights a week, and I'll make sure I'm freshen up before coming home after my dates. You'll never have to worry about any awkward moments. Oh, I'm sure I'll never have to worry about awkward moments because I won't be touching you after you go on one of your dates for the first time. Where did you even get this nonsense? You're spouting what in the name of everything. Wholly planted this ridiculous idea in your head. I was almost certain I knew where it came from, but I thought I'd ask anyway. Well, I was talking to Susie about our plan to start a family. Susie, of course you mean your 4 times divorced colleague Susie. The same Susie who cheated on all 4 of her ex-husbands. Are you seriously taking marriage advice from her? Well, she said that I really need to get everything out of my system before we start a family. That way, I could truly relax and be a great mom and a loyal wife without regretting anything I might have missed out on. Plus, she suggested that this experience with other guys could help improve our own intimacy, teaching me some new ways to bring you pleasure. It could open the door to an even better sex life for us. She was thrilled. Well, it was absolutely clear that she was going to go through with this no matter what I said. I tried a few more arguments, but each one was shot down. Al, right time to bring out the big guns. It's completely clear that you're going to go through with this regardless of my wishes. So when are you planning your first date? Actually, I don't have a date set yet. But Susie and I are planning to go to a club tomorrow night. All right. But I'm warning you, if you try to bring anyone back here, it will end very badly. Oh, I would never show you such disrespect. No, we'll either go to his place, a hotel room, or maybe even back to Susie's. All right. I am in no way giving my permission, and I do not agree to any of this. But it's clear that my opinion has no bearing on your decision. In that case, I will not be touching you while this is going on. Additionally, keep in mind that this could have drastic consequences for our relationship. You might find there's no place for you here when you decide to come back. What do you mean when I decide to come back? I already told you I'm not going anywhere. It's just 1 or 2 nights a week. The rest of the time we'll be together. No, I won't allow that. If you're set on doing this, you'll have to leave to do it. I don't care where you go, but you won't be living here while you're dating and sleeping with other men. Don't be ridiculous. This is my home too. You can't just kick me out. I can. Don't you remember that this house actually belongs to my parents? They gifted it to me right before we got married. It's my house. Maybe you should consider moving in with Susie. The rest of the night and the entire next day were filled with cold silence. She tried to make me sleep in the other bedroom, but I insisted that the bed was as much mine as it was hers, and I was going to sleep there. If she didn't want to share a bed with me, she could sleep somewhere else. We largely avoided each other the following day as well. Around 8 p.m. Ida came downstairs in her black dress, stockings and garter belt. No, I couldn't actually see the garter belt or the tops of the stockings, but I knew the look wearing 10-centimeter heels. Her hair was styled, she had on makeup, and she wore her night out on the town jewelry. The only thing she had in her hands was a small clutch. Did you forget anything? No, I have my phone, wallet, and ID. I think that's all I need. What about your suitcases, clothes, makeup, toiletries, and so on? I'm only going out for the night. Why would I need all that? I'll be back by morning, actually. No, as soon as you walk out that door, I'm changing the locks. I told you won't be living here while you insist on this nonsense. Don't be ridiculous. I know you love me enough to let me do this. Well, it's obvious you don't love me enough not to do this. If you walk out that door, you won't be coming back in. Just as she was about to respond, a car horn sounded from the driveway. That's Susie. I have to go, but we'll talk when I get back home. What she didn't know was that I had installed several hidden apps on her phone while she was getting ready in the bathroom. Now I could track her location, read her text messages, record her phone conversations. Hell, I could even activate her microphone and camera without her knowing. In fact, I activated her microphone as soon as she left the house. It was recording her conversation with Susie as they drove. I'd listen to it later. Right now there was work to do. The first task was to change the door locks to the new ones I'd bought earlier that day. Then I moved her car out of the garage, reprogrammed the garage door opener, and removed her remote control. Third, I packed all her clothes, toiletries, and makeup into boxes I'd brought in advance. 0.2 hours later, I loaded all her belongings into the car. Now it was time to listen to her conversation with Susie. God, he's furious. Well, I warned you about this. He'll be angry for a week or so, but it'll pass. Just make sure the sex with him is fantastic. Over the next few days, once he sees how much better it is, he'll start to accept the situation. Guys are like dogs. You can get away with almost anything, if you reward them properly. The right use of this sexual key will adjust their attitude to whatever you want. Yeah, I just hope the guy you're setting me up with doesn't leave me too worn out to properly handle row tomorrow night. Just make sure you have a nice soak in the bath tomorrow that should ease any soreness. Now take off your panties and leave them in the car. You won't need them tonight to take them off. I would have had to put them on first. Ah, you little adulteress. They both laughed. I should probably describe Susie. She's a 162 centimeters tall, fiery red-headed dynamo. She has long waist-length red hair, emerald green eyes, an angelic face, a slim waist, and the morals of an alley cat stretched thin for pleasure. All 4 of her marriages ended in divorce due to her infidelities. It was impressive considering she was only 26. Seriously, who gets divorced 4 times before they turn 30? No, I never acted on it, but it wasn't for lack of opportunity. She had made it more than clear that I'd be a welcome guest in her bed anytime I wanted. I should also mention that this wasn't the first time she tried to convince Ida to do something phenomenally stupid. Usually it involves some attempt to get us all involved in a group or something more with her. So far I'd managed to avoid that. I listened a little longer until they arrived at the club. Trying to hear anything inside the club was a hopeless task. There was simply too much noise to make out any conversation. Instead, I turned my attention to online banking, while tracking her location via GPS. I withdrew half of the funds from our checking account, paid off and canceled our joint credit cards, transferred all our savings to an offshore account I'd opened a couple of years ago, and moved about 70% of our investments to a separate account, in my name. Only I noticed that Ida's phone GPS was moving, so I activated the microphone again. Sure enough, Ida was talking, and I could hear an unfamiliar male voice speaking with her. Oh, my phone's ringing, rustling. Hi, Susie. How's it going? Hey, girl. Did you leave with the guy you were dancing with? Yeah, we're heading back to your place to have some alone time. Hope you don't mind if we use the spare bedroom for an hour or so. No problem, Han. I'll probably be there soon with his friend. We'll have some fun, I hope. So I'll need to take a shower after we're done, so I can go home afterward. I thought, so I left some shampoo and body wash in the guest bathroom for you. Thanks, see you later. By this time, I had turned on her camera to see if I could get a look at the guy she was with. I only caught a glimpse of him as she set her phone down. He didn't leave much of an impression on me. All I could tell was that he looked to be around 30. With thinning black hair and judging by his height, while seated, he was a bit shorter than me. I turned everything off while they were still driving. When I saw they'd arrived at Susie's house, I turned the microphone and camera back on. I kept listening until I heard them moving away from the phone. That wouldn't work. I needed her phone to be in the same room so I could get audio evidence of her cheating. Video wasn't likely to work. Damn it. What's wrong? It's a call for my husband. So just ignore it, I can't. I'll keep it short and get rid of him. Hi, honey. How's it going? Where are you? Ida. I'm at Susie's. We're just relaxing a bit, and then she'll drive me home. I'll be back in a couple of hours. We just started a movie. All right. I just wanted to make sure you're not getting into a bad situation. I'm fine. Stop worrying. I'll see you in a couple of hours, all right. Goodbye. She must have had too much to drink because she didn't even notice that I hadn't used any terms of endearment or told her I loved her before hanging up. She also didn't catch that. I said goodbye at the end. By some miracle, she took her phone with her into the bedroom. I think it was because she was heading there while talking to me. Even better, she placed it on the nightstand, propped against the lamp. The camera had a decent view of most of the bed. I was pretty sure I could never use this in court, but at the time that didn't bother me much. I watched enough of the video to confirm they were indeed having sex, then minimized the window and continued recording well. If she decided to go and sleep with other guys, I saw no reason to just sit at home waiting for her return. You know, the old saying, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and all that crap. To hell with her crap. I was going to go out and have some fun too. Moreover, I was going to rub it in her face. Naturally, she didn't come home. She had to stay over at Susie's. That I spent the rest of the weekend working on house projects and fixing up an old truck. I have a 1972 pickup that I bought cheap a few years back. I've been working on it for a while. I put in a built-in 350 engine replaced. The transmission added a 12-bolt rear differential, leather bucket seats, and a matte black paint job. All that was left was to finish installing the steel braided lines to connect the engine to the fuel radiator and vacuum fittings. Work kept me distracted throughout the week. Plus, since I'd stopped communicating with Ida, I was able to finish the truck and get it road ready. I also went to see a lawyer and started preparing the divorce papers. There really wasn't any way to avoid giving her half of everything. The divorce laws in this state must have been written by hardcore feminists. Let's face it. If you're a man, you're screwed in a divorce. Women cheat, and the poor innocent husband who stayed faithful and did nothing wrong ends up paying the adulteress so she can keep sleeping around. There's little a guy can do to protect himself. So Friday evening arrived. My truck was cleaned and ready for a night out. After taking a shower, shaving, and putting on a bit of cologne, I got dressed. I wore a nice new pair of jeans, a black button-up shirt, and rattlesnake leather cowboy boots. It was time to treat myself, so I went to a good steakhouse for dinner to start the evening. I won't bore you with the details, but the T-bone steak, baked potato, and vegetables were excellent, as was the salad to start. Now on to the main event, leaving the restaurant. I checked Ida's location. Sure enough, it looked like she and Susie had arrived at the club about half an hour ago. It was time to put my plan into action. I had every reason to believe this would throw Ida completely off balance. I couldn't help but smile. As I parked a couple of spaces away from Ida's car, it looked like she was the designated driver tonight. This made my plan a bit easier as I didn't have to worry about Susie leaving her in a tough spot. Not that I was particularly concerned myself. Mostly I was focused on the fact that it would be a bit trickier to get Susie to leave with me if she were the one driving with a plan in place as well as a plan B, in case Susie suddenly developed a moral objection. I entered the club. They were easy to spot. "Susie, I didn't know you'd be here," I said, approaching their table with a drink in hand. I had deliberately waited until Ida got up to dance with some guy. "Rob, what are you doing here?" she asked nervously. "Probably the same thing you are," I replied. "Since Ida moved out. I thought I'd check out this club and have some fun tonight. By the way, would you like to dance?" I should probably tell you that Ida's here with me, and how does that stop you from dancing with me? Besides, since she's not here, I can only assume she's either in the restroom or on the dance floor herself. "Come on, you've never turned down a dance with me before." Her worried look turned into a smirk. "Of course I'd love to dance with you. We were out there for 3 upbeat songs before a slow one started playing." I didn't give her a chance to leave. As soon as the music began, I pulled her close and held her tight. About halfway through the song, Ida noticed me. I nearly burst out laughing when the surprise on her face turned to fear as she realized I'd caught her. She left the dance floor as soon as the song ended and went back to their table. Now I could see her watching me with barely concealed anger. "Oh, you poor adulteress. I haven't even started making you angry yet," I thought to myself. Susie pressed tightly against me as we danced slowly together. As I mentioned earlier, Susie is a real bombshell, so it didn't take long for me to stand at attention and salute. If you know what I mean, it didn't take her long to notice either. She looked up at me with a wide grin and started pressing against me a bit more. When she leaned back slightly, I caught a glimpse of her chest straining against the thin fabric of her dress. I'd already figured out that she'd left her bra at home facing Ida. I slowly lowered my hand and began caressing Susie below her waist. No panties either. It seemed my plan was on track. When the song ended, I escorted Susie back to their table. She invited me to join them, and of course I accepted. On the way back, we stopped and asked the waitress to refresh our drinks. Being the gentleman that I am, I asked her to put all 3 drinks on my tab. "Robert, what the hell are you doing here?" Ida hissed angrily. "What do you mean?" "I'm doing the same thing you are. I'm drinking, dancing, and having a good time. Is that against the rules? Don't pretend to be innocent. You're here just to ruin my evening." She spat the words out quite the opposite. "Ida, I had no idea you'd be here. Remember, we haven't spoken since you moved out. How would I know where you'd be? I heard about this club from some buddies at work, and since you weren't around, I decided to check it out and have a fun evening with drinks and dancing. Are you saying it's okay for you, but not for me? Because I have to say that's pretty hypocritical of you." With that, I turned to Susie and started chatting with her. Ida sat there fuming, while I did my best to ignore her. She must have decided to try to make me jealous, because she went out of her way to dance with as many guys as possible. She also started grinding on them and dancing as flirtatious as she could. I chuckled to myself as I monopolized my time with Susie. Every time I saw another guy making a move to approach and ask her to dance, I pulled her onto the dance floor before they even reached the table. Pretty soon no one else tried, as it was clear we were together. After a couple of hours, I decided it was time Ida was on the dance floor and Susie was ready and willing. She smiled and spread her legs as my hand slid up her thigh under the table. Yes, no panties. She rubbed and squeezed me over my jeans. Your place with me. I whispered, breathing into her ear. Ida will be there soon, does that matter? I assume she has her own room. I kissed the spot where her neck meets her shoulder. To hell with it, she replied. She's the driver. She'll get herself home. Let's go. I kept her in suspense as I drove her to her place, caressing her thigh and occasionally stroking her gently. Her dress slipped over her head and dropped to the floor as soon as the door closed. Grabbing my hand, she practically dragged me to her bedroom. Clearly she had plenty of experience. I put on protection. Couldn't imagine being with her without it right. We had just finished. When I heard the front door slam, Susie was too preoccupied to notice. Besides, Susie is very loud during sex. Double bonus, Ida's room is right next to Susie's, separated only by a thin wall. Thank God. I had stocked up on protection. We finally crashed from exhaustion around 2 in the morning. Triple bonus, the next morning, around 9. I was woken up by another incredible sensation, and another condom was used as she wrote me. Yes, I never mentioned doing anything to pleasure her. I think I already said what a cheater Susie is, right. Could anyone seriously think I'd put my mouth or tongue anywhere near that, really? While I do enjoy giving a woman pleasure, I'm not risking my health with someone like Susie who knows what's in there. That's why I insisted on protection. Breakfast was to say the least awkward. Apparently we'd woken Ida with our morning antics when we came out. She was already in the kitchen coffee. Ida asked as I walked into the kitchen, I'm good, I'll make it myself. I noticed a slight smirk on her face as she asked. I took a clean mug from the cupboard and stood by the Keurig as it filled my cup. Who knows what might have been in a coffee? She made for me? After that, there was almost no conversation between us. She and Susie talked a bit, and I exchanged a few words with Susie. Apparently at the club. Ida eventually noticed we were both missing and put 2 and 2 together. I think she expected me to take Susie to my place and was furious when she saw my truck parked outside Susie's house. She ranted so much that the guy she brought home for the night jumped back into his car and left. Ida was glaring daggers at me during breakfast shortly after I headed out. I can be a real jerk when I'm motivated, and I was definitely motivated. Ida worked with several very attractive single women. I'd met them a few times at her company events and parties we'd hosted. Naturally, I had their contact information. I started reaching out to them over the next few weeks. I convinced most of them to go on dates with me. Some were a bit hesitant because Ida and I were still married. But since Ida had been open about her own adventures at work, and I assured them we were separated, they warmed up to the idea. I began hearing that tension was building between Ida and Susie because of my little escapade. Soon there was also tension between Ida and most of the other single women in the office. So yes, I started dating Ida's friends and colleagues. I took them out for drinks and dinners. I invited them dancing. I took them to shows at every opportunity. I made sure to show up wherever Ida was. The GPS tracking app, along with the voice and video app on her phone, became a gold mine. I also heard that most of her colleagues I dated were thrilled with their time with me. She was still going out and bringing guys home. She and Susie started clashing more often. Me. I was having a great time. I went out, dined, danced, and enjoyed myself. I also got a kick out of listening to Ida's ranks. This isn't how it was supposed to work. What do you mean? Susie would reply. He was supposed to wait for me while I sowed my last wild oats. Then welcome me back so we could start our family. He wasn't supposed to be dating and sleeping with other women. Susie was also puzzled. Yeah, I didn't expect that either. So what are you going to do? Well, I've had my fun, and none of the other guys could rock my world like. Rob, plus our anniversary is coming up, and we have a plan to start working on having a child that night. Yeah, he definitely knows how to send a girl into orbit, Susie said knowingly. And what the hell were you doing, bringing him over and having fun with my husband all night and into the next morning? You adulterer, hey. Calm down, you fool. Damn, I've wanted him for years. What the hell was I supposed to do when he came on to me like that? He turned on full charm and pushed all my buttons. I couldn't help myself, but he's my husband. You could have shown a little respect for your best friend. All right, I'm sorry, look, he hasn't even called me since I doubt we'll ever meet up again. Besides, you shouldn't be mad at me. He's been hitting up all our single colleagues. God, I can't believe those damn adoresses are betraying me like this. It's time to take back what's mine. So you're going back to him now? Yes, I'll call him later and tell him I'm ready to come back and start our family. I smiled. As I listened to their conversation, she had no idea what was coming next. It was time to move on to the final part of the plan. I called my lawyer and gave her the final instructions. There was just over a week until our anniversary, and I needed to prepare for an unforgettable celebration. Ida called later that day. She wanted to come home immediately, but I refused. I told her that I'd made other plans because I didn't know what her intentions were. I also mentioned that I had some work to do around the house and wanted to surprise her when she came back. I didn't want her to see it until everything was finished. This would be part of my anniversary gift to her. I may have dropped a few hints that she perhaps mistakenly took to mean one of the bedrooms had been turned into a nursery for a newborn. In reality, I never said that. Eventually, I convinced her to come on our anniversary to receive her surprise. Oh, is she going to be surprised? All the preparations were made and everything was ready. It was Saturday evening, and the anniversary party I'd planned was in full swing. I had a barbecue and a pool party to celebrate. Ida had no idea. I'd installed a pool over the past 2 months. This was just the beginning of the surprise. All our friends and family were there, along with a couple of other guests. It was around 6 p.m. when the doorbell rang right on time. This was exactly when I told Ida to arrive. She had clearly seen the many cars in front of the house and must have realized there was a party going on. She was certainly surprised as she carried her suitcases into the house all right. "The guest of honor has arrived," I announced. "Rob, what's going on?" "I kind of thought we'd go somewhere and have a quiet romantic dinner tonight," she said. "Oh. No, today is a big celebration, and I wanted all our family and friends here to celebrate with us." "Oh, okay, honey. It just takes me by surprise a little. I wasn't expecting anything like this." "Well, just set your suitcases here. We'll take care of them later. You've arrived just in time for dinner as the guest of honor. You and I will be first in line." Ida quickly got into the spirit of things and started enjoying herself. There was no mention of the past couple of months. We ate, drank, and laughed. Dinner was finished and cleared away. The backyard was lit up. Ida was very surprised by the pool and several other changes to the house. I still hadn't shown her the upstairs. She hinted that she wanted to see what I'd done, as she still thought I'd turned one of the bedrooms into a nursery. Finally, it was time to reveal the rest of the surprises. "All right. May I have everyone's attention, please? I have a few announcements on this special day." I shouted for everyone to settle down and listen. The stereo was turned off and everyone fell silent, moving closer to hear. "Ow, right. Thank you all for coming today now. I need to make a couple of announcements. Ida, could you come up here with me, please?" After she stood beside me, I continued. "First of all, I want everyone to know that yesterday was my last day at work. The only person who knows this is my former boss. He was very understanding since I gave him a month's notice and explained my plans. I am now announcing that I'll be starting my own consulting company. This will give me more freedom to spend time with my family." Ida practically beamed when I emphasized the last word. "As you all know, today is our 5th anniversary. What most of you don't know is that we had planned to start a family on this day. With that in mind, I want to give Ida a special anniversary gift to signify a relationship." With these words, I suddenly took a few steps to the side and nodded to a red-haired woman at the edge of the group. She nodded back and stepped forward. I dilated at her. "You've been served." The woman said, "What most of you don't know." I continued. 2 months ago, Ida told me she was going to date and sleep with other men. She didn't ask if I agreed. She didn't leave me a choice. She just informed me she was going to do it, and that there was nothing I could do about it. For the past 2 months, she has been living with her friend and bringing different men home to sleep with. This is something I simply will not tolerate. Frankly, I also started seeing other women, but I only did so after Ida had already broken her marriage vows. "No," Ida screamed, "for your actions, I am giving you a divorce, so you're free to go and sleep with whomever you want. Rest assured it won't be me." So I told Ida I was doing some remodeling in the house, and I did. You've all seen the pool I added, along with a few other updates downstairs. I also repainted the master bedroom and installed a new, more spacious shower as well as a jacuzzi in the master bath. I also removed the wall between the 2 smaller spare bedrooms to create one larger bedroom with its own bathroom. I did this for a very specific reason. As I was saying this, the same red-haired woman and a 10-year-old red-haired girl started walking toward me. "I'd like you all to meet my attorney Tara Riley and her daughter Simone. Tara is also a single mother. I met Tara 2 months ago on the Monday after Ida went to the club and brought home her first guy. Since then, we've grown very close. Although we haven't officially started dating, we both feel there's something special between us. Simone and I also get along very well. Once the divorce is finalized and she's no longer my attorney, we plan to be together. Her lease is ending soon and Tara and Simone will be moving in with me. I turn back to Ida. So, Ida, as for what to do with your suitcases, you can take them back to your car. You won't be coming back here. I told you I wouldn't tolerate this, but you went ahead and destroyed our marriage. Chaos ensued. Ida was sobbing uncontrollably. Her family was shouting and yelling. Most of the friends quickly left. My family sat in stunned silence. Tara and Simone quietly went upstairs and disappeared from sight. They were prepared for this reaction and had agreed when I asked if they'd be okay with it. Frankly, Tara and I haven't even kissed. Sure. We went out to dinner and I spent a few evenings with her and Simone at their apartment, but we agreed to hold off on anything further until my divorce is final. She divorced her husband 5 years ago after catching him cheating. Since then, she's gone on a few dates but never felt a spark. Eventually, everyone finally left. I don't know where Ida went. That same day, I removed all the spy apps I had on her. I was no longer interested in what she was doing. Could I have handled this differently? Possibly. Maybe I shouldn't have involved Tara, and especially Simone, in all of this. Again, probably why did I do it? The simple answer is anger. I was furious about what Ida had done. I also wanted to make sure everyone knew that Ida had destroyed our marriage, to her selfishness, and I wanted to publicly make Ida feel the pain she caused me. She killed my love for her and made me hate her. I wanted her to feel the loss of love and the hatred she had provoked. Yes. I could have simply served her at work while she was staying with Susie. I could have just sent everyone a package with my evidence. I could have done many things that would have been far more mature and far less painful for everyone. In the end, I did what I did. Ida went back to Susie's that lasted about 2 weeks before they were at each other's throats. Eventually she got her own little apartment. I often see her around town. Her expression when she sees me alternates between sadness and anger. I think it depends on her mood. We don't exchange pleasantries. I actually heard from one of her colleagues that she left the company and found a new job. The stress of me dating several other women she worked with became too much for her. I also occasionally see her family when Tara, Simone, and I are out for dinner again. We don't speak, but they give us grim looks. We just ignore it. Speaking of Tara and Simona, Ida tried to contest the divorce but soon realized it was a hopeless battle, wanting to wrap things up quickly. Tara allowed me to keep the pressure on Ida by continuing to date her colleagues. Ida signed the papers after hearing a glowing account of my night with one of her colleagues. The morning after my 4th date, the day the documents arrived, officially ending my marriage, Tara and Simone moved in with me. A year later, Tara and I got married. On our wedding night, she let me enter through her back door for the first time. She then told me that I'd always have the key and could use it whenever I wanted. Another year later, we ran into Ida while Simone and I were strolling through a street fair. Ida turned and ran away crying when she saw Tara's 6-month pregnant belly. Thank you for listening until the end. See you in the next episode of Epic English. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Goodbye.